He looked like an ordinary human warrior, quiet, disciplined, almost forgettable. But the most dangerous secret in the galaxy was beating inside his chest. While an alien princess was falling in love with him, she had no idea she was giving her heart to a living weapon capable of erasing fleets or worlds. And when the truth surfaces, the real question won't be whether he can destroy everything, but whether he will choose not to. The first thing Princess Aeryn noticed about the human warrior was that he did not look impressed. Everyone else did. The receiving platform shimmered beneath twin moons, its living crystal arches humming softly as diplomatic vessels descended in slow, dignified spirals. Her people stood tall in ceremonial armor grown from bioalloys, their long ears adorned with silver chains denoting rank and lineage. Military choirs resonated at subsonic frequencies to signal honor. Even the atmosphere had been adjusted to a precise luminescent hue intended to evoke trust. The human stepped off his shuttle, glanced at the horizon, and said very quietly, "Your gravity is comfortable." Aeryn blinked. Of all the possible responses to the capital world of Elithar, crown jewel of a tri-system empire, he had complimented the gravity. "You find our planetary engineering satisfactory?" she asked, descending the final step to meet him. "Yes, Your Highness," he replied. "It feels stable, that's rare." His voice was calm, almost soft. He wore no ostentatious insignia, only a dark uniform with a small human emblem at the collar. His posture was straight but not rigid. His eyes moved, though subtle measured shifts that mapped exits, elevations, guard placements. He did it so discreetly that most would miss it. She did not. "You are scanning my palace," she observed. "Yes, for weaknesses, for evacuation routes." She tilted her head slightly, long ears angling back in curiosity. "You assume you will need to evacuate." "I assume nothing," he said. "I prepare for everything." That should have sounded arrogant. It did not. It sounded tired. Behind her, General Vaylor made a low clicking noise of disapproval. "Is this the renowned human champion?" he murmured, not quietly enough. "He looks as though he misplaced his weapon." The human turned his head. "I did," he said. "It was considered impolite to bring it to a diplomatic summit." Aeryn pressed her lips together to prevent laughter. Vaylor did not. They walked together beneath the arching crystal corridors toward the palace interior. Bioluminescent veins pulsed beneath the translucent floor, carrying energy through the structure like flowing starlight. Outside, orbital defense arrays drifted in perfect formation, each one capable of vaporizing a cruiser. The human glanced upward as if counting them. "You have 9 primary cannons in synchronous orbit," he said mildly. "2 are slightly misaligned." Vaylor stiffened. "They are not." "They are," the human replied. 3.2 degrees off rotational harmony. It will reduce their convergence efficiency by approximately 7%. Aeryn stopped walking. "Are you guessing?" she asked. "No." There was no boast in his tone, simply fact. She opened a private channel to orbital command, a pause, a murmur of surprise, confirmation. She studied him more carefully then. His face was unremarkable by her world's standards. No ceremonial markings, no genetic luminescence. Brown hair, steady gaze. A human. "You correct our defenses within your first 5 minutes on Elithar," she said lightly. "Is this a strategy to make an unforgettable entrance?" "It was accidental," he replied. "I notice things." Vaylor made another noise. "And what else do you notice, human?" The warrior considered. "Your Highness has not slept enough. The left wing of the palace is under renovation, and someone in your security detail is concealing a secondary blade." 3 guards reflexively shifted. Aeryn laughed openly now, the sound echoing through the corridor. "You are either dangerously perceptive or exceptionally lucky." "Yes." She stared at him. "Yes, which?" "Yes," he repeated. For the first time since the human delegation had been announced, the tension in her shoulders eased. They entered the Grand Assembly Hall, a vast chamber where the ceiling projected a living map of nearby star systems. Delegates from allied species occupied tiered platforms, their forms varied, scaled, crystalline, fluidic. The air hummed with translation fields. The human took his designated place slightly behind and to the right of her throne. Not beside, behind. She glanced at him over her shoulder. You stand as though expecting someone to shoot me. I stand where I am most useful. And where is that? Between you and whatever arrives. She should have objected to the presumption. Instead, warmth flickered in her chest. The summit proceeded with predictable rhetoric, trade lanes, anti-piracy measures, joint patrol rotations. The human remained silent unless directly addressed. When he did speak, it was precise, concise, devastatingly practical. At one point, a projection drone malfunctioned above the assembly floor, its stabilizers sparking. It detached from its guide rail and dropped directly toward Aeryn. She saw the flicker of light, heard Valor shout. Then the human moved. Later, reviewing the security footage, analysts would argue about frames and latency. In the moment, Aeryn simply felt wind against her cheek as the drone's central core vanished from its trajectory. The human stood where he had been, one hand raised. The drone rested in his palm, power core safely disengaged. He set it gently on the floor. "My apologies," he said to the stunned technician across the chamber. It appeared distressed. The hall was silent. Aeryn looked at him slowly. "You intercepted a falling mass of 12 kilograms traveling at terminal velocity. Yes. You calculated its descent? Yes. In how long?" He paused. It was not a long calculation. Valor's eyes narrowed. "Your reflexes exceed baseline human norms." "Baseline humans vary," he said. That was not an answer. The summit concluded without further incident. As dignitaries dispersed, Aeryn gestured for the human to walk with her through the evening gardens. The palace exterior shifted into nocturnal radiance, crystalline flora emitting soft blue light. Above, the twin moons reflected in still pools. "You did not brag," she said. "I did not. Most warriors would have recounted the interception repeatedly by now." "I caught a malfunctioning appliance," he replied. "It would be excessive to commemorate it." She laughed again, softer this time. "On my world, strength is displayed, demonstrated, celebrated. On mine," he said, "it is regulated." She studied his profile as they walked. His expression was composed, but there was something beneath it, an ever-present calculation, as though invisible equations scrolled behind his eyes. "You fascinate my generals," she admitted. "They cannot determine whether you are modest or concealing something." "I am often both." They reached a balcony overlooking the lower city. Air traffic shimmered between towers. Defense drones drifted like quiet stars. "You are not afraid here," she observed. "No, you stand in the heart of a foreign empire. Yes, you are alone." He looked at her then directly. "I am rarely alone." Something in the way he said it made her ears twitch. "Cryptic statements are traditionally my role," she informed him. "You are infringing upon royal privileges." "My apologies." "You apologize frequently. It maintains social stability." She leaned on the railing. "And what maintains your stability, human warrior?" He did not answer immediately. Instead, he glanced upward, just slightly toward the sky. For a fleeting second, she wondered if he was listening to something she could not hear. Then he looked back at her and the moment passed. "Routine," he said. "Discipline, and if those fail, they do not." It was said so evenly that she could not tell if it was confidence or conditioning. A faint tremor rippled through the balcony as distant atmospheric engines ignited, an escort fleet adjusting formation. Instinctively, several palace guards stiffened. The human did not move. "Does nothing startle you?" she asked. "Many things," he replied. "Name one." He considered with unsettling seriousness. "Unstructured social gatherings." She stared at him, then laughed outright. "You face orbital bombardment with composure, yet fear banquets. Buffets are chaotic. I will ensure you are seated strategically at the next one." "Thank you, Your Highness." They fell into companionable silence. The city hummed below. Somewhere far above, satellites adjusted infinitesimally, recalibrating their orbits in quiet synchronization. Aeryn felt it then, not fear, not suspicion, but an awareness. The human beside her was not like the warriors she had known. He did not radiate dominance. He did not seek recognition. He stood as though containing something vast and choosing, deliberately, to keep it contained. "You are different from my people," she said softly. "Yes. Most warriors crave glory. It is inefficient. And what do you crave?" He turned his gaze back to the skyline. "Predictable outcomes." She smiled faintly. "Then you have chosen the wrong galaxy." "Possibly." A soft chime interrupted them, an alert from the outer defense ring. Minor. Routine. A cargo vessel drifting off designated vector. Her advisors would handle it. The human's posture shifted almost imperceptibly. Just slightly more alert. "Relax," she said teasingly. "It is a navigation error." "Yes," he agreed, but his eyes tracked the distant glow of the vessel until it corrected course. Only then did his shoulders ease. "You assume threats constantly," she said. "I measure probabilities. And what are the probabilities of danger tonight?" He looked at her. "With you," he said, "lower than average." She felt warmth rise to her cheeks, an unfamiliar sensation. "Careful," she warned lightly. That almost sounded like reassurance. It was. The moons climbed higher. The palace lights dimmed further into gentle twilight. Somewhere beyond the atmosphere, encrypted signals pulsed through hidden relays. Biometric monitors tracked a human heartbeat, steady, controlled. Limiters held at nominal thresholds. On the balcony, Princess Aeryn did not see any of that. She saw only a quiet warrior who had caught a falling drone as though it weighed nothing, who corrected orbital cannons as casually as commenting on gravity, who feared buffets more than battlefields. And she found herself smiling. "Walk with me tomorrow," she said. "Yes, Your Highness. Not as a guard." He hesitated. "As what then?" She met his eyes, long ears angling forward with playful challenge. "As the quietest warrior in the galaxy." A faint curve touched his lips. "That is a statistically disputable title. Then you may defend it. I will prepare accordingly." She turned toward the palace interior, the living crystal doors parting before her. Behind her he followed, not looming, not boasting, simply present. Steady, contained. And high above Elithar, unseen by every soul on the surface, a constellation of silent machines adjusted their watchful alignment around the single human heartbeat below. The first explosion bloomed in silence. Princess Aeryn watched it unfold across the tactical display as a white flare against the darkness of the asteroid belt. A supply frigate, medical convoy designation, its shields collapsing in a ripple of distorted light before the feed cut to static. Around her, the command chamber shifted from diplomatic calm to precise urgency. Holographic projections rose from the floor, mapping trajectories, mass signatures, weapons output. Officers spoke in clipped bursts. The living crystal walls dimmed to enhance sensor clarity. "Unidentified vessels emerging from debris clusters," Vaylor reported. "Engine signatures irregular, likely pirate augmentation." Aeryn's long ears angled forward. "Civilian casualties? Unknown." She did not hesitate. "Prepare the response fleet. I will command from the forward carrier." Several advisors began protesting simultaneously. She lifted a hand. Silence. The convoy carried pediatric stabilizers and atmospheric filters for 3 colonies, she said evenly. "If we allow raiders to claim that cargo, we invite repetition." Her gaze shifted to the human standing slightly behind her. He had not spoken since the alert began. "Assessment?" she asked. "Ambush pattern is layered," he replied. "Primary attackers visible, secondary likely cloaked within asteroid shadow." Vaylor frowned. "Speculation." The human tilted his head a fraction. "Probability." Aeryn felt a flicker of something she could not name. Anticipation, perhaps. "Prepare countercloak sweeps," she ordered, "and dispatch boarding teams." She turned to the human. "You will accompany me?" "Yes." "You are aware this is not a buffet?" "Yes." She almost smiled. The carrier Valyrix slid from orbital dock with a smooth hum of gravitic engines. Outside, the stars streaked briefly before stabilizing into the fractured glitter of the asteroid field. Massive rocks drifted in slow ballet, their surfaces scarred by mining lasers and ancient impacts. The bridge glowed in layered light. Tactical overlays painted the pirates as red distortions weaving between stone masses. 3 confirmed hostile cruisers, Vaylor announced. Additional signals intermittent. The human stood near the forward viewport, hands clasped loosely behind his back. Aeryn studied him. No visible tension, no battle readiness display, simply stillness. "Are you ever visibly concerned?" she asked quietly. "Yes." "When?" "When I am bored." She huffed a breath through her nose. Then this should be stimulating. The first exchange of fire erupted in arcs of blue plasma and spiraling kinetic bursts. One pirate vessel attempted to flank the convoy's remains, only to be intercepted by Elithari interceptors in tight formation. "Secondary signatures emerging," the human said. On cue, 3 dark shapes shimmered into visibility behind the carrier's port flank. Vaylor swore. "How?" "Shadow reflection," the human replied calmly. "They aligned with rotating debris to mask thermal variance." "Deploy countermeasures," Aeryn commanded. The carrier jolted as impact waves rippled along its shields. Warning glyphs flared amber. "Boarding pods inbound," an officer shouted. Aeryn's pulse sharpened. She turned to the human. Now would be an appropriate time to be more than statistically calm. He nodded once. "I will minimize structural damage," he said. "That is not a sentence that inspires comfort." He moved before she could add anything further. The corridor outside the bridge vibrated as pirate pods magnetized to the hull. Emergency bulkheads sealed in sections. Armed Elithari guards took defensive positions. The first breach tore through metal with a scream of plasma cutters. Smoke curled into the corridor. 3 augmented raiders emerged, exoskeletal plating fused to their bodies, ocular implants glowing red. They barely took 2 steps before the human reached them. Aeryn followed at a controlled distance, refusing evacuation. She had seen combat before. She had not seen this. He did not roar, did not sprint recklessly. He stepped into their range with measured precision. The first raider swung a hydraulic limb. The human shifted slightly, barely a movement, and the strike missed by millimeters. His hand tapped the joint of the exoskeleton. The limb detached, not torn, detached. The second raider fired a pulse round at point-blank range. The human angled his body. The shot grazed his shoulder, dispersing against what looked like ordinary fabric. He reached forward, applied pressure to the raider's chest plate, and the entire exosuit powered down with a metallic sigh. The third attempted retreat. The human caught him by the collar. "Your propulsion system is misaligned," he observed almost politely, and tapped the raider's spinal augment. The suit collapsed into inert scrap. Silence flooded the corridor. Elithari guards stared. Aeryn felt her heartbeat in her throat. "That," she said carefully, "was not a standard human defensive maneuver." "No," he agreed. "Would you classify it as advanced training?" "Yes." "Advanced in what sense?" he considered. "Extremely." Another breach alarm sounded further down the hull. He moved again, and she followed despite every protocol screaming otherwise. In the cargo bay, a pirate mech, 3 meters tall, armored in salvaged dreadnought plating, was pinning 2 of her soldiers against a containment crate. Its arm-mounted cannon whined as it charged. The human stepped into its line of sight. The mech recalibrated target priority instantly. Smart machine. It fired. The blast struck him squarely. Smoke swallowed the space. Aeryn's breath caught. When the haze cleared, he was still standing. His uniform smoldered faintly at the shoulder. "That was discourteous," he said. The mech roared and charged. The human did not. He waited until the last possible fraction of a second, then sidestepped with impossible timing. His hand met the mech's armored torso. There was a sound like a pressure seal releasing. The mech's front plating folded inward as though obeying an unseen command. Internal circuits sparked and died. The massive machine toppled sideways in sections, neatly dismantled. Not shattered, dismantled. The cargo bay fell into stunned quiet. One of her soldiers whispered, "He touched it." Aeryn stared at the human. "You are aware," she said slowly, "that our engineers required specialized gravitic saws to open similar plating last cycle." "Yes, and you achieved the same result with contact." "Yes." He glanced down at his faintly smoking sleeve. "I apologize for damaging the uniform. It was newly issued." Despite everything, a small, incredulous laugh escaped her. "You are concerned about wardrobe integrity." It was comfortable. The ship shuddered again as exterior combat intensified. "Boarding threats neutralized," Vaylor's voice crackled through comms. "Primary pirate cruiser attempting escape." The human looked toward the hull as though he could see through it. "Permission to intercept?" he asked. Aeryn hesitated. "Externally." "Yes, in vacuum." "Yes." She stared at him. "That is not a rhetorical question." "No." Her advisors began shouting objections through the comm channel. She ignored them. "Interception authorized," she said quietly. "Return intact." He inclined his head once. The next moments blurred. Airlock doors cycled. Exterior cameras activated automatically. The bridge screens filled with the image of the human stepping onto the carrier's outer hull, magnetic field boots engaging with soft clicks. Beyond him, the pirate cruiser accelerated between asteroids, engines flaring. He crouched. Aeryn's pulse spiked. "You cannot be serious," Vaylor muttered. The human leapt. Not propelled by visible thrusters. Leapt. For a terrifying second, he drifted between ship and ship, a solitary figure against star-speckled darkness. Then he adjusted mid-flight, as though nudged by invisible vectors, and collided with the pirate cruiser's dorsal surface. He did not bounce. He adhered. External feed flickered as he placed a hand against the cruiser's hull. Inside the pirate vessel, power readings spiked erratically. "What is he doing?" An officer breathed. "Minimizing structural damage," Aeryn murmured faintly. On screen, sections of the pirate cruiser's engine assembly began to detach, not explosively, not catastrophically, but with surgical precision. Panels separated. Fuel lines severed cleanly. Propulsion died. The cruiser drifted powerless among the asteroids. Moments later, the human pushed off from its hull and arced back toward the carrier with alarming grace. He re-entered through the airlock, atmosphere hissing around him. When he stepped back onto the bridge, there was a faint tear in his sleeve and absolutely no sign of exertion. "The cruiser has ceased hostilities," he reported. Vaylor stared openly now. "You disabled a warship manually." "Yes. In vacuum." "Yes." The words settled between them like a gravity well. "For whom?" she asked. "For everyone." Silence thickened. Then, with infuriating composure, he added, "I am also available for further buffet avoidance strategies." The absurdity of the statement fractured the tension just enough for her to breathe again. "You are impossible," she said. "I have been described as improbable." She studied him, this quiet human who leapt between ships in vacuum and worried about formal attire. Fear brushed her thoughts. So did something else. Trust. The carrier turned toward home orbit, towing disabled pirate vessels in its wake. As stars stretched into faint lines during transit, Aeryn stood beside him once more. "You could have ended that engagement faster," she said. "Yes." "You chose not to." "Yes." "Why?" He looked at the distant shimmer of Elithar growing on the horizon. "Because efficiency is not the same as necessity." Her heart tightened. Far above, hidden satellites recalibrated, their sensors tracking a steady human heartbeat, controlled, regulated, contained. On the bridge, Princess Aeryn realized that the warrior she had begun to admire was not merely skilled. He was measured, and whatever limits governed him were not imposed by fear of failure. They were chosen. She glanced sideways at him. "If you ever decide to dismantle my palace," she said lightly, "warn me in advance. I will schedule it appropriately." Despite everything, the data, the impossible physics, the word contingency, she found herself smiling again. Outside the viewport, the twin moons of her world rose to greet them. And for the first time since the battle began, she wondered not whether he could destroy fleets, but who had built him to do so. The ancient fleet arrived without warning. No jump signatures, no distortion wake. One moment, the outer perimeter relays transmitted routine telemetry. The next, they went dark in perfect sequence, like lights extinguished by an unseen hand. Princess Aeryn stood in the high command spire as emergency glyphs flared crimson across the chamber. The living crystal walls projected a magnified image of the system's edge. Shapes emerged from nothing, not ships in the traditional sense. geometric masses of black alloy unfolding from compact forms into vast, angular constructs. Surfaces rippled with machine logic older than any living record in Elithar's archives. Identification? She demanded. Her chief archivist's voice trembled. Cross-referencing pre-Empire relic data, autonomous war platforms. Pre-organic expansion era, believed dormant. How many? A pause, more than we can comfortably count. The human stood at her right, hands loosely clasped as always. Aeryn felt the shift in him before she saw it. Not panic. Not fear assessment. Vector, he asked. Direct approach, Vaylor replied. They are not broadcasting demands. They would not, the human said quietly. The first beam lanced across space and erased an outer defense satellite in a clean, indifferent line of white. Silence filled the chamber. Then chaos erupted. Fleet mobilization orders cascaded outward. Civilian evacuation protocols activated across inner colonies. Energy grids rerouted to weapons platforms. Aeryn's long ears angled sharply forward. Transmit alliance call, she ordered. Full defensive array, no reserve. She turned to the human. You recognize them? Yes. Her pulse tightened. Explain. They are automated extinction contingencies, he said. Designed to remove civilizations that exceed projected stability thresholds. Vaylor stared. That is not a military doctrine, that is genocide. Yes. Another beam fired. A cruiser shattered, Aeryn's breath steadied by force of will. Can we defeat them? Yes. The single word struck the chamber. At what cost? She pressed. He did not answer immediately. That depends, he said at last, on method. The fleet engaged. Elithari warships surged forward in elegant formations, plasma arcs weaving between the incoming machine constructs. For every segment destroyed, two more unfolded, adapting, recalibrating. On the tactical display, casualty projections climbed. Shield harmonics ineffective, an officer called. They are learning our frequencies in real time. The human stepped closer to the projection field. Data reflected in his eyes. They are not learning, he said softly. They already know. Aeryn looked at him sharply. They are keyed to advanced civilizations, he continued. Their algorithms anticipate technological progression. Vaylor swore under his breath. Then, what advantage do we possess? The human's gaze shifted to her. Unpredictability. Another warship vanished. Aeryn's advisors clustered around her. Your Highness, one urged, request full activation from your human ally. If he is what the data suggests. She raised a hand. Full activation, she repeated quietly. The human's voice remained level. If my limiters disengage, I can disable the fleet in approximately 6 minutes. The chamber fell silent. And after, she asked, he hesitated. Collateral probability increases. Define. Planetary crust destabilization. Orbital decay events. Atmospheric ignition scenarios. Vaylor inhaled sharply. You would shatter our world to save it. No, the human said calmly. I would remove the threat. The environment would be an unfortunate variable. Aeryn stepped closer to him. You were built for this, she said. Yes. And you would obey if I ordered it. Yes. The simplicity of the answer hollowed her chest. Outside, another explosion flared. Fragments of an Elithari dreadnought scattered like dying stars. Her people were bleeding. Her world trembled. You told me once, she said quietly. That efficiency is not the same as necessity. Yes. Is total annihilation necessary? No. Then we find another way. Vaylor stared at her. Your Highness, with respect. With respect, she cut in. We will not reduce our salvation to a single destructive option. She turned to the human. You mentioned unpredictability. Yes. You proposed a multi-species algorithm during the convoy incident. Cooperative maneuvering beyond linear combat logic. Yes. Implement it. A faint flicker, almost surprise, crossed his face. Understood. He stepped forward, interfacing with Elithari command systems through a compact human device. Data streams intertwined, human tactical variance models meshing with alien fleet formations. Divide into non-symmetric clusters, he instructed calmly. Abandon mirrored formations. Randomize shield frequencies within safe thresholds. Introduce deliberate inefficiencies. Deliberate inefficiencies, Vaylor barked. Yes. That is absurd. Correct, the human said. They will not anticipate absurdity. On screen, Elithari's ships broke elegant patterns and scattered into chaotic vectors. Some appeared to retreat unnecessarily. Others fired at non-critical nodes. The machine fleet adjusted, predicting optimal counters. Then the human altered the pattern again. He introduced timing delays, staggered responses that defied clean algorithmic modeling. Human vessels from distant sectors answered the alliance call, adding further unpredictability, kinetic slingshot maneuvers, unconventional power routing. For the first time, one of the machine constructs hesitated. Its targeting beam faltered by a fraction. Now, the human murmured. Elithari's strike teams exploited the gap, focusing on exposed control cores. One construct imploded, then another. Casualties continued, but the tide shifted from inevitable loss to contested survival. A massive war platform advanced toward Elithar itself, eclipsing starlight. Inner defense breach imminent, an officer cried. The human's posture changed. Aeryn felt it, a tightening, a coiling beneath restraint. If I engage directly, he said, I can neutralize that platform without full activation. Margin of safety reduced. How reduced? She demanded. Personal structural compromise possible. She understood the translation. You could die. Yes. Vaylor opened his mouth to object. Aeryn silenced him with a glance. She stepped closer to the human until only a breath separated them. You are not a tool, she said quietly. No. You are not a contingency. A pause. No. You are you. Something shifted in his expression. Something unquantifiable. Yes. She drew in a steady breath. Then go, she said. Not as a weapon, as my ally. A faint curve touched his lips. That is statistically preferable. He left the chamber without further ceremony. Exterior feeds tracked him as he exited through a high-velocity launch port, propelled this time by visible thruster bursts integrated beneath his uniform. He streaked toward the advancing platform, a solitary figure against colossal geometry. The machine fired. He did not evade entirely. He absorbed part of the blast, deflecting the remainder into deep space. His trajectory wavered, then corrected. He collided with the platform's surface. Unlike before, the hull resisted. Adaptive armor thickened around him. He pressed his hand against it. Power readings spiked across Elithari's sensors. Containment thresholds at 70%, an officer whispered. Aeryn gripped the command railing. On screen, the human moved across the platform's surface with terrifying speed, striking key nodes, forcing micro-failures. The machine retaliated with precision beams. One struck him directly. His biosignature flickered. 82%, Vaylor said hoarsely. Aeryn leaned toward the comm channel. Return, she ordered softly. You have done enough. No, his voice replied, steady despite static. Nearly complete. He drove both hands into a seam along the platform's core. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the construct's internal geometry destabilized, not explosively, but inward, collapsing in controlled implosion as though persuaded to cease existing. The massive platform folded into itself and vanished in a silent cascade of disintegrating fragments. Across the battlefield, the remaining machines faltered. Without central coordination, their patterns degraded. Elithari and human fleets pressed the advantage. One by one, the constructs fell. When the last hostile signal faded, the void grew quiet again. Aeryn exhaled for what felt like the first time in hours. Locate him, she demanded. Sensors scanned. A faint biosignature drifted amid debris. Rescue vessels surged forward. He was retrieved minutes later, unconscious but intact, uniform scorched, skin marked by energy burns that were already knitting closed. In the medical wing, he regained consciousness before the physicians finished calibrating their instruments. You are inconvenient to treat, one muttered. I recover efficiently, he replied faintly. Aeryn entered, dismissing attendants with a look. He sat upright despite protests. You disobeyed my partial recall, she said. Yes. You risked self-destruction. Yes. She studied him. Why? He met her gaze. Because you chose not to use me as a weapon. The words settled between them. I chose not to lose my world, she corrected gently. You chose restraint, he said. That altered available outcomes. She moved closer. You altered them, she replied. You fought without becoming what you were built to be. A faint silence followed. I was built to end wars, he said quietly. And today, she asked, today I preserved something. She reached out, hesitating only briefly before taking his hand. You preserved us, she said. He regarded their joined hands with mild analytical curiosity. This is new, he observed. Yes, she said. Adapt. I will require data. She laughed softly despite the exhaustion pressing against her. I will provide it. In the days that followed, reconstruction began. Alliance treaties deepened. The ancient fleet's remains were studied cautiously. Valor approached the human during a strategy session. I misjudged you, the general admitted stiffly. Yes, the human replied. Valor waited. That is all, he demanded. Yes. After a long pause, Valor's stern expression cracked into reluctant amusement. You are intolerable. I have been informed. On the palace balcony once more, beneath the twin moons, Aeryn stood beside him as the city lights flickered back to full strength. You could have ended it faster, she said. Yes. You did not. No. Has that changed you? She asked. He considered. I was designed with singular solutions, he said slowly. Today I operated outside them. And I prefer it. She smiled. You are no longer merely a contingency. No, he agreed. Then what are you? He looked at her, not scanning exits, not calculating trajectories. Present. I am choosing, he said. Far above Elithar, hidden satellites adjusted their orbits once more. Not tightening. Relaxing. On the balcony, Princess Aeryn leaned against the railing, her long ears catching the moonlight. You realize, she said lightly, that if another extinction fleet appears, I will expect similar performance. I will schedule accordingly. And if there is a banquet afterward. He paused. That may exceed